So today I'm going to be doing a video on glass lizards because I caught one today on the way to dinner. And this is my last take, so if it's bad at all, it's the first video I've done. Sorry about that. I've been having a lot of bad takes, and I've been handling the glass lizard for each one. And I just don't want to handle it anymore after this one because this is maybe my third or fourth video now. So I'm going to talk about glass lizards, how to find them, where they're found, difference between them and snakes, and then how to keep them. And I'm going to finish up with how to keep them. And a wild one really never should be caught, but inevitably someone will end up doing it. So for someone who does and needs information, I'll have that in here. First of all, glass lizards, also known as the eastern legless lizard, the most common ones in the United States are in the southeast. They are very common around sandy areas, dry areas. They'll be found around water too, but it's generally going to be very sandy around lakes. They could even be found in sand dune areas by the ocean. They don't, as long as there is freshwater lakes nearby or some sort of body of fresh water that they can get fresh water from if they decide to need it. Sandy areas, they are more often because it's easier for them to move around. It's dry, and their scales on the side of the body are shaped in a way that they can get trapped moisture in there easily, and fungus can start growing that could become potentially fatal. And generally they're found under stuff. And then another great place to find them is most yards. They're very common in suburban areas. People find them gardening all the time. I found this one right here on a road today on the way to dinner. And at first I thought it was a snake, so I got off to rescue it and realized it's a lizard. And the area around it's just not very nice for it, so I'm bringing it to our work, which is a wildlife restoration management area, where it'll be much better off. And now, when handling them, you have to be very careful because the name glass lizard, glass snake, implies that their tail, they're very glassy and it'll shatter easily. And I just mentioned glass snake. That is because a lot of people see them and think that they're snakes, not lizards. And as a result, they'll also even kill them. But some people like lizards and not snakes. When they find out it's a lizard, they feel kind of bad. And so here's how to tell that it is not a snake. First of all, lizards have ears, snakes do not. Lizards have eyelids, snakes do not. And then lizards, their tails will fall off more readily. Snakes, I've seen their tails fall off before, but it has to be more or less snapped off. It won't just drop off like many lizard tails will. Now I'm going to get a little closer to see if I can show you the ears on this. The eyelids are a bit difficult because it won't close its eyes, but it has been closing its eyes for me. So let's try this. Alright, I don't know if you can see it, but there's sort of a little... That's not very good. Okay, but that's not working out too well. I'm sorry I can't show it to you. Well, this one's rather small. It's a lot easier to see it on a large one. They can get up to 4 feet long. And some people just don't know that. And that brings me to the next thing, which is keeping them as a pet. They are found at pet stores and reptile shows where you could get them. They're probably wild caught, but there's a chance they might be captive bred. Other than that, though, wild caught ones, I mean, they're wild. You might say, oh, but it's just one, but what if everyone had just one? Then there won't be any left in the wild, and we'd be overrun with crickets and grasshoppers. Which, crickets and grasshoppers are the main food, so if you do get one, feeding them is not that much of a problem if it's willing to eat. A larger adult one might be less likely to eat, so those ones might not be the best, but if you get a small one, start off small like this, it would probably be more likely to survive in captivity. Some animals just stop, even ones that are commonly kept, just stop eating if they're wild ones that get caught and brought into captivity. And then housing is where it becomes more of an issue, though, because they get up to 4 feet long, as I previously mentioned, and require a large cage. The minimum I would keep an adult in would be a 40-gallon, and I would probably try to get something where around a 50, 60, or even a 75-gallon terrarium for them. A lot of people also use the wrong enclosures. They get a 75-gallon, but it's a fish tank that's tall. These don't climb, they spend time on the ground. They can climb. It's tougher for them than most animals because their external anatomy is, they're very glassy, very solid bodied, and so they can't really get any grip on anything. They'll climb into vines, but not really branches. If there's a good branches, they might a little bit, but most of the time it's best for them to have ground area so they can move around, as well as a lot of areas from the hide and a shallow water dish so they can get in that, shed in that, and drink from that. And so housing needs to be, if you look at a terrarium compared to an aquarium, you'll see the difference. Housing needs to be spacious and have a lot of ground room more than climbing room. And that's about all I can think of. Feel free to comment on this. Feel free to add anything that I didn't get. This is the first glass lizard I've ever really found. I've found others, but they usually get away, and I haven't looked into them as much as I have a lot of snakes. So if I got anything wrong, you could feel free to correct that, and if I missed anything, you can feel free to add to that. Thank you for watching this, and look for more videos in the